Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Wealthcation Show. And today we are going to be having a chat about taking those baby steps to making positive change. We're live on all our platforms, live on TikTok, so hello everyone on TikTok there as well. And yeah, making it positive changes, Jim. And people get quite overwhelmed about making changes and quite a lot of the time shy away, and it's kind of natural for a lot of people to resist changing because it can maybe feel like a big hurdle to change things, and a lot of people don't like change, but it really does have a big part of your whole journey, and even your personal or professional life and things, just to make those changes. And it does really open up a lot of doors and brings you to new people and exposes you to a lot of new things, and creates that opportunity for you in a really positive way. So making positive changes obviously is very important, and it doesn't have to be a big challenge. You could break it down and do it in baby steps, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to obviously reflect on some of your own experiences, Jim, and indeed my own. And if anybody's listening and wants to join in and give some comments, we will try and give you feedback and answer questions as we go, as we are live. So, how are you today, Jim?
All right, it's quite interesting.
Changes.
Advert
I
for Necker Island.
noticed that. I noticed that.
It's been November. This has been sitting in my cupboard, and obviously it's not been that hot, so I could never wear it. So I thought I'm going to wear it. It's kind of making a statement, isn't it?
For those on TikTok who can't see Jim on the other screen, he's got his Necker Island t-shirt on, or his jumper, whatever it is. Is that a t-shirt?
It's nice and silk,
Oh,
sweat
right,
wicking.
yeah.
It's like highest quality. There's a surprise. But hey, it's I suppose it's kind of like, well, never mind your Gucci or anything like that. This is the
Yeah.
ultimate. Gucci and Prada just didn't even wear it. As soon as you know somebody's been at Necker Island, you know, hey, wait a minute, there's a different level playing field here.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and obviously for you to reach Necker Island like you did last year was all about you making all these positive changes through your life and throughout your journey to get you where you wanted, where you were, and where you're going still. And change. What's changed for you, Jim? I mean, as important as we.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting you should see that.
Mhm.
Just bear with me because I'm actually just about to show you some graphics here,
Yeah.
which I actually did when I first started. Now this is really interesting.
Is this the
Let's
one
get
you just
these.
tagged me in?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get these up. Yeah, this is really interesting. Let's see if I can find them again. God, I went and saved them somewhere where I can't find them now. Here we go. Okay. First of all, let's see if we can rotate that. Right, here we go. Let's get this on the screen. Now, unfortunately, for anybody on TikTok and not watching this,
Yeah.
go to YouTube for goodness sake, because you'll
Especially if you
get to
watch
see
on
this, no
TikTok.
bother. And this is really important because this is how I started. And I'll tell people about this, how I started and what it all meant. Uh, Now, this is a psychometric test I had done in 1990 by my work.
Okay.
And this is what they said about me in each time. This is quite an interesting one. This is where I started everything, right here. See this 5% group down the bottom?
Yeah.
That was my mentors. This is the plan. This is the book. This is the manual from
Hmm.
1990 when I first started, full of notes and information. Let's just bring that off again, just so people can see that. Full of notes and information exactly about everything that you should be doing, how you should be doing it. I've
Yeah.
even got a script on how to handle objections. Does this all
Okay.
sound familiar?
Yeah.
How much are you making? And the answer is come on Thursday and you'll find out. Or I'm only just getting started, but the person coming is very successful. Good answers, eh?
Yeah.
It almost sounds like I'm inviting people to a seminar. But that's effectively what I was doing. And then some people would say, I'm not interested unless you tell me more. And then that's when you would send them what there was an ad pack or a video you would show them. And my wife doesn't make the decisions on the business, I do. And the answer is, well, is that policy for you? Does it really come down to that? And then what's the catch? Well, the catch is you don't have to come.
Hmm.
I'm going to give you these scripts, Richard, because this is great for inviting
Yeah.
people to investment workshops. Because I'm busy. Hang on, I thought you said you were free. I'm not here to waste your time, as it's my time as well, remember. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you come along. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
This is 1990. All this information when I did all this, or thereabouts. So early 90s, handling objections, telephone calls, startup procedure, inviting how to do it, invite 3 people every single day. And then for the month, you've got 9 invitations.
Yeah.
50% turn up, 45 in the door. 5 might go and continue to do it. 1 might excel themselves, job done. Do that every single month. Phone 3 people every single day and make contact with them. And that's how you first start, and that's how you start everything. That's how I started at a state agency. That's how I started in the lettings business when I started as well. It was just basically my contacts were then estate agents.
Yeah.
And phoning all these people and all the different people I was putting stuff out about. Dundee Seminar, Dave and Jenny Rennie. You know, all the notes I used to take on there as well. And all the information and how to be successful and how to get everything done on time. This is God, this thing's priceless. God, I should just print this as a book and sell it. Because literally it is. But I tell you what's even more priceless. Look at this. This is all the people that said no. And I'm not going to stop there. Here, business cards, double-sided.
Yeah.
Another list.
And these are all still people that say no.
Another list. Another list. And then we go through and we've got another list. This is all the list of contacts. We've got another list of both sides. We've got another list in here and there. I've got another list on the back of that. I've got another list of people that I was phoning left and right. And then I've got another list I was phoning. And then I've got another list I was phoning. And then I've got another list I was phoning. And then I've got another list I was phoning. And then another list I was phoning. And another list I was phoning. And everybody thinks it's easy.
And
imagine how many no's I got. Could I give a flying fuck?
But I was just going to say that in all that, it shows a lot of rejection, but it didn't stop you.
It didn't stop me at all, Richard. It taught me how to learn to accept rejection. But instantly enough, that's what I did in the beginning. This is thousands of people I phoned. I bet if I looked at all these people and phoned them back, the majority wouldn't have got any further forward. And I'd be going, how are you getting on now after 35 years? Are you any further forward than you were when you first started? And most of them will be, and let me explain to you where most of them will be right now. And I actually explained it on that other photograph there. Let me explain where people are now and what happens to someone, because I talk about this all the time, and you know I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
So let me just move on to this page. Here it is right here. Look at that. That's what happens. See it there?
Mm-hmm.
From the 25 to 65-year-old plan, as I start work at 25, I work 40 years, I'm retired. 54% of people retired on 2/3 of what they couldn't afford to live on in the first place. This is fact. 36% of these people in the population died of stress and heart attacks. They never made it to 65. 1/3 of people, 1 in 3 people die before they get there. It's probably a bit more now, but we'll just stick the same. And 5% can't afford to retire because they continue to work because they can't afford to.
There's no choice, they have to keep working.
However, here's the 5% group. Remember I talk about them all the time? 4% financial independent. In other words, they'll last 6 months or more with no money coming in at all. And 1% wealthy. In other words, they'll last more than 2 years with no money, no producing their income, on passive income.
Yeah.
And that's how I first started. This was all about first started. Freedom of choice, the income that comes with it, the retirement plan, the security, and the tools to do the job in the right place in the first place. That's how it's done every single time. And that's a real eye-opener for a lot of people, but they won't want to accept that. So How do I know this was guaranteed to be successful for me? Let me pop onto this and I'll talk about this bit here. This is my psychometric test. This is what assesses how good you are in certain areas. Now we'll just zoom in on them. Work direction, followership,
Yeah.
temperament, work style, social nature, activity, leadership, and work direction. Now look, if I go back to August 1990 as the black line, there's no right or wrong answer to this, by the way.
Yeah.
And May 92 is the red one. Now, why have I got both of them at the same time? Because I actually, when I started at Tillis Russell, that was the August 1990, the first psychometric test they did. Now, it was a fantastic lady called Elizabeth, who was really good to me when she first started. And then I went back to Elizabeth after being indoctrinated into the people, the 5% group I was learning from. Books, tapes, in other words, podcasts,
Yeah.
upline support, mentors, and attending functions, which I used to do. Family reunion, dream weekend, free enterprise day. Do you know we booked out the NIA and the NEC in Birmingham every week, the weekend when we did it, every single time? There's 40,000 people that worked in that network. That's why that system was designed to help them run their business and help them grow their thinking and think outside of the box. And that's why I still use that system today for a lot of people, because I know it works.
Mhm.
And here's the proof, because this is what happened here when we zoom in on that. So let's zoom in on here now and talk about this. Right, here we are here. Here's the red lines. And here, now you notice when we get to work style. Now, interest in working in details. I was very, now you think I was detailed now. Even before then, I was worse. I was up at 7. And then I learned to let go a bit and stop focusing on too much of the details, because that held me back quite a lot.
Mhm.
Look at how high I am in the top level in organization. Everything had to be in a place for everything. You think everything's bad now. You want to see how I was in the beginning. See how that dropped in 2 years out of learning
Yeah.
from my mentors. But reflective type as well is a different one, and that increased just a wee bit. So did social nature, need to relate closely to individuals. It
Mhm.
actually increased a bit. I am not relatable to other people. I think that clearly explains it. But it's what I've worked on the last 30 years, remember. So
Yeah.
maybe I am now, but at that time I was really a complete social introvert.
Mhm.
Completely.
Which
I
might come
wouldn't,
as a surprise
it's
to a
just
lot of
me in the
people.
world and that's it. And no one else matters.
Yeah, and that might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it will be different from
Look
then.
at what happened here. Need to belong to groups. Actually, when I first started, it was high, and then it started to drop as I realised I don't really need to belong to anyone else and rely on anybody else.
Yeah.
Social extension, that it doesn't matter that much to me. Need for recognition. See how it was middle, and then now it's like I'm not really particularly bothered.
Yeah.
I'd probably be 0 now. I don't really need recognition at all from anybody. It doesn't make any difference to me anymore. So these are all things that develop over time. Activity, physical pace. Yep, still was consistent with that. Workplace activity, still consistent. Well, it dropped, it went up actually. See how that improved my work because
Yeah.
I was doing that. See, people don't realize that watching the Wealth Creation Show and learning from what we do will improve them in their own personal lives as well as their work life as well.
Yeah.
Because I then accelerated through the ranks to a financial director in a fast period of time from starting work in 1990. So that just shows you. And then you've
Mhm.
got leadership. Here's an interesting one. Here's a really one. Look, ease in decision making. See that how that started to go up, because it was difficult for me to make decisions before, but it became easier just in that 2-year period. And now I'll probably be a lot higher than that now. It need to control others. See how it was low, but now it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm actually quite controlling.
Mhm.
Does that surprise you, Richard?
No.
But I have learned to bring that down now and let
Yeah.
go and let other people take control and trust them to do that. That's a great thing to learn from, you see.
Yeah.
I'm not a big one in actually just sitting on my laurels and thinking I could do things perfectly. Look at how leadership, It was at 3 in the beginning, and reading and functions and podcasts and upline and mentors actually accelerated me to 7. Leadership role. Wait till you see the notes, what they write. Work direction, need to achieve, became more. Role for hard worker, the same, consistent hard worker. Need to finish a task. Yep, that went up as a result. In other words, stop giving up and stop just getting bored of things. Boring pays well, so finish the task. So see how it went up as a result. That's where that came from. Followership, need for rules and supervision. Yep, it went down, which was good because it means I don't need to supervise as much. That'll be a lot less now. And need to be supportive. That actually started to go down as well. Okay, which is a good thing, really. When it came to temperament, yep, pretty low. Need to be forceful. Yep, not really particularly bothered. And emotional control, there you go, down at 2. There's a surprise. Need for change. Look how that started to drop. Mind, see in the beginning, need for change, it was always there because I was always excited. I was always want to start with the same thing. But because I started to read books all from the right people, and I had mentors and a podcast I listened to, and also functions I attended, it started to drop the need for change. And it was like stick to your knitting, stay in your lane, and do what you do well, but do it far better than everybody else. So you can see how all that came out. Now watch what it says in the notes. This is quite a good one in the notes. So here is that 1992? So here's 1990. Let's zoom in. We can read some of them. Not wanting to lead when I first started Tillers Russell. Now remember, I was only starting as a trainee accountant and cost accounting. Control others, and I'm not really sure what that says. Sees himself achieving results. There you go. Personal identity with individual and authority. Yep. Not consistent. Not consistently striving for success. Work on hour as task. Work as hard as the task demands. In other words, I'm not particularly driven at that point in time. Sufficient commitment, but will apply. Will happily delegate. Okay. Especially high. What does it say? Landing. I'm not really sure what that says. Prefers to think a problem through. Takes its own pace. Needs certain level of recognition. See how that was in the early days? Enjoys social interaction. Think that says something about joining groups. Looking to join groups. Detached and emotional relationships. There's no change there then, is there? Open book. That's me in a nutshell. You can see that right now because I'm doing all this. I'm showing you all my psychometric tests from 1990, which is 35 years ago. Prefers to avoid conflict. See how that's not changed that much? I'm not a person that takes on conflict, but watch what happens in 2 years' time. Analytical, critical mind, elaborate thinker, and direct enough. Not direct enough. See that? So I learned to become more direct with what I'm saying. And needy, perhaps. Look,
that's quite interesting. That back then, and it is really, it does all fall into you, and that's quite a good thing to do, to really
look
identify.
What happens in 1992.
Identify.
Now this is. Remember, this is after reading books, having a mentor, attending functions over that last 2-year period. And listening to what there were tapes at that time in your car as a mobile university. Watch what happens to what's been said here in the 2-year period, because this is a great benchmark to show that this system works. Look at that. Natural leader.
After that list. This is 2 years after that list.
This is 2 years. This is a psychometric test after 2 years at Tillers Russell. Confident to take control. Natural leader, confident to take control. Increasing loyalty to individual authority, requires problem supported a little, not consciously striving for success. So in other words, it's no the be all and end all for me, the success, it's just the journey. So, works as hard as the task demands. There you go, same as before. Prefers to handle one job at a time, personal interest in detail, concerning with some flexibility, hesitant, well, there you go, I'm not that anymore. Decreasing level of anxiety, easy for me to do things now, it's no bother, moderate assuming, selective, detached, adaptable, open book again, neither seeks nor avoids conflict. Okay, natural, confident leader, responsible, analytical, critical mind. And that is what we teach in the Financial Freedom Blueprint.
Yeah.
Mentorship, books, reading the right ones and telling you the right ones to do, the right podcast to listen to, and the right functions to attend as a result of that. The four wheels on a car, which work extremely well. And it's all about, it's not an easy task. Do you think this, phoning all these people, taught me how to handle rejection?
Yeah, of course it did. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. The more you phone people, the closer you are to a yes. The more no's you get, the closer you are to a yes. But these are all the things that I learned. And the only reason I bring these up, because it's like everybody thinks this naturally just falls into your lap. And everybody thinks you're just a natural born leader. Now, clearly, I've just demonstrated there I never was.
No, but you worked hard and looked at what you needed to change and work on that on yourself to get you to that point.
But that's what everybody else can do.
Yeah.
The number of people that told me they weren't capable of doing it or writing themselves off was unbelievable. And yet, that demonstrates clearly I was exactly the same as they are. So if you follow the same path, then it will work for you as well. And your path might be a lot easier because there's a lot more tools and information available now, and there's a lot more mistakes made, which you can avoid now.
Do you know what I take for that as well? That people, you need to have your own drive and be really driven, because if you don't have that, to obviously push yourself to your own success and your own positive changes, and identifying what you need to change within yourself and accepting that and things, and having the drive to move forward. If you don't have that, you're never going to succeed.
Yes. Now, dare I say there was a driving factor here? Well, it wasn't at this point in time. Elaine was a driving factor, but I knew I wanted a family, and I knew I needed a bigger house, and I knew I had ambitions, because the one thing my mentors taught me to do was to build my dream. It doesn't need to be a big dream. It doesn't need to be, I want a Lamborghini Huracan. It just needs to be the baby steps that you talked about. When I first started, when my upline or my business associate sat down with me and went over that plan that I just showed you about the 5%, and that's him, and then you go into all these different areas, and then you build a network from there of people. It will help you build overall, and everybody will succeed as a natural result of that. That's the key here. Everybody succeeds as a natural result. You notice how I try to emulate that in our business structure and how we do things. I try to get everybody to succeed as a natural result as well, but you can't just hand it to people, but you give them the opportunity to do that. So it's the same thing, and it's been drummed into me all these years. So everybody succeeds as a natural result, and a lot of people just don't understand that mentality because they're conditioned that in order to win, someone else has to lose.
Rather than us all lifting each other up together.
Of course. A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
But we're naturally taught to lose every single, somebody has to lose for you to win. I used to I still get it from some counsellors. I've got a counsellor at, a local counsellor I worked together with years ago, and he always used to say to me, well, in order to win, for somebody to make money, somebody else has to lose the money. I went, well, not necessarily. You can all win at a different level, and the level that you want to choose to win at, you have to decide whether it's going to be you or not. And the very fact that you don't decide, then therefore there's a natural result. That's probably why you'll lose if that's the case. But then are you really losing if that's not what you wanted? There's a dilemma.
Yeah, that's a dilemma.
Are you really losing if it's not what you wanted in the first place? Have you really lost anything? Oh, why have I not got £1 million? Well, did you want £1 million? Well, no, really. Well, you never lost then, did you? And you've not lost anything.
Yeah, if you hadn't set out or put yourself out to achieve a certain thing, how could you then turn around and say, well, how have I not got that? Like you've lost it when it wasn't something that you were aiming for.
Absolutely. It was never in anybody's mind. It's maybe the same about how people think. Why is that not me today? Well, did you set a goal for it at any point in time? Well, no, really. So let's play a game of football then and take away the goals. How do you think you're going to score? And how are you going to keep score if you've no goals? That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are you going to keep score about where you are now if you've got no goals to go for? If you take the goals away from a game of football, you'll never be able to keep score. And it's just like life itself. If you take the goals away and you don't think about the goals that you want, you'll never hit anything as a result of that. But in order to get that and start that journey, you have to take the baby steps to do it. Now, I did it quite quickly. I just immersed myself into it, as I do. There's a surprise. I'm just that type of person. I love the detail and I love learning about all these different things. But putting it into practice is a different situation. And it's like what I said before. My first steps every single time was the only way you're going to start is invite 3 people a day.
Mm-hmm.
Invite 3 people a day to see the opportunity, the baby steps we took, and then 3 people a day over a month is you're inviting 90 people in total because it's 30 days in a month on average.
Mm-hmm.
You're just staying. So you're inviting 90 people to come, and I've always told you 50% will turn up. It always happens.
Yeah.
Do you get that as well? 50% of people turn up.
Yeah, I mean, as kind of a rule of thumb, that the amount of people you have intending to come to something or attend something, it is obviously, it's never going to be that full number that you expect. And whether you do confirmation with them and follow up and always be prepared for that lesser amount to be there, no matter what you do. But it's really true what you say, Jim, and it falls really good with the baby steps to positive change from what you've just run through there. I've obviously broken down different topics for us to talk about today, but that first one, and you've really explained that well, is identifying and understanding what you want to change, and basically how you go about changing it. And that was just a really good example of what you done in your journey at the beginning, and how you changed things quite exponentially in a short period of time. But like you say, you totally immersed yourself in doing that. Everybody could do that, maybe just at a different level. It doesn't have to be so intense, but but if you're really committed to doing your own success, then maybe you do want to be at that level and do.
Was it intense for me in the first place? Yes, it was, because I had to change within.
Yeah.
And not without, because everything else is always the same outside of you. But as you internally, it has to change in order for anything to change. You know, there's only one consistent thing in life, or constant thing in life, and it's change.
Yeah.
Because it will change whether you like it or not. People change round about you. You know, governments change round about you. The taxation system changes round about you. Your salary, your work changes round about you. It's everything evolving. The only thing you can control at this point in time is you.
Yeah.
And how you respond to everything.
Change is inevitable, and it's a big part of life in any aspect. And it's really important to embrace it and your own situation and for your surroundings and things as well. Now, another thing, Jim, and you'll have come across this, and everybody in their own journey and whatever they do, is a big thing is to rid your life and rid yourself of that negativity that surrounds you and can really hold you back on your journey and can really have quite a detrimental effect on your own mental health and things as well. And people let a lot of noise in while they're on their journey, and it's really important. And that was what I wanted to talk a wee bit about as well. It's ridding yourself of that negativity. And obviously we've got social media and things now as well, you know, coming on from those 30 years ago when you started, and that's a big impact on people and how their success plays out, because they let it affect them, and it's really important to.
That's where the delete and ban, the ban and delete buttons for.
yeah.
I'll tell you, I had somebody recently. We were, on LinkedIn just the other day. Somebody said about, door knocking on doors and introducing themselves as a new estate agent in the area. That's the usual pattern that you do in America. You get 500 houses, you knock on every door, you introduce yourself as the agent, the local agent, the specialist in the area, and that's what you do. And another person actually responded back and said, I would rather be poor than go stoop down to door knocking. Now, it's weird, and this is a trainer. People that gets leads for agents. Like, really? That's how you're responding? That's no a track record then. So I then said, well, that's how I started out. I says I loved door knocking, and I loved putting canvassing, postcards through people's doors. It took a lot of time, but in the early days, it taught you a really good lesson. It kept you fit. But it also let you see all the area, and then you bumped into people, and sometimes you knocked on their doors when they've got a board on and say, "How are you getting on? How's it happening? Is it good?" And what I used to love about it is you used to go on and on about the other estate agents, and I used to go, "Great, that's a war story for me." I can tell other people on a third-party endorsement or not an endorsement, and the fact that how someone else thought they were absolutely appalling. But it gets you recognised as the go-to person in the area. But it also gets you a lot of information, a lot of stories, and a lot of intel about how other estate agents are working and how successful they are. And then you can adapt in that. And this person's made a derogatory comment in reply to me with something to the fact that, you must be in a fairy tale land or something. It's like, and I went, and I, and I just went, you're clearly heads not in the right place at this point in time, and put #toxic. And then I just went on and unconnected from him. I just, and blocked him. That's it. End of story. I don't need that shit in my head.
Yeah. And it's being able to just train yourself to just block that and walk away from it.
You just don't need people like that in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need people like that in your life, Richard. You can, your family especially. I love you to bits. Maybe your sister or brother or your auntie or uncle or whatever it is has been down on you all the time about how you are and how no great you are and how it'll be difficult for you to do it. I love you to bits, but I know what I'm doing. Let me get on with it, and I'll do it. And then just do it. It's a statement that often people say, and I'm not really sure if it's true, but I'm not really sure if it's something I would use. But the best way to get revenge is be successful.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree.
But I didn't go out really to get revenge on people. It's like, I'll just do my own thing. And so what? I'll do my own thing. I'm not really caring. I'm no longer competing against anybody else. I'm just doing it to the best ability I can, and that's it. And whether people, you get that, I had somebody as well going on about TikTok about leeches for landlords, and I went, so what have you done to house all the people that are homeless at this point in time? While I was putting a roof over everybody's head, what were you doing? And then there was some derogatory response again, and I said, exactly. What you've done is sat on the sidelines and criticised people like me that put roof over people's heads at 23% below inflationary rent. And that was the end of that story. Never responded to that.
I was just going to say, what was the response to that?
Yeah, no response. Because how do you respond to that? You're charging 23% below the market rates, or below inflation over all the years that you've been doing this as a landlord. After somebody calling you a leech, it's like, no, I'm not. It's like I'm providing a service and putting a roof over people's heads, and it's something that you're certainly not doing, because you seem to be the one that's wanting to criticise everybody, but you're not doing anything at all to help anybody.
Yeah.
And that's often how you get people like that. Let's be honest, their lives are probably so shitty, they've got to kick someone else to get a thrill out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that quite a lot, and it's like you see people taking these comments maybe online and things and letting it have them effect on them, and really they should have taken a step back and thought, why is this person like this? What's their situation? Because it's probably a lot worse than what theirs is. And you should.
But didn't get down and help them, whatever you do.
No.
The worst thing you can do is dig a hole or get a ladder and get down beside them in the hole.
No.
The best thing you can do is get a ladder and give them a hand out of the hole. Yeah. In other words, tell them what they need to do next to get back on track. Don't do it for them, though. They have to do it for themselves. I've learned over the years, I've done it for so many people. I've got them jobs. I've helped them with rent reductions. And a lot of it's just been, I've now learned it's because I've wanted it more for them than they've wanted it for themselves. And a lot of the time, it's never appreciated, really. Yeah, but it'll not stop me doing things.
No, but you get left with a kick in the teeth, and it's quite that it could be quite obviously detrimental.
It used to be quite upsetting, and it is for a wee while, and then you get over it, and it's like, next, just move on.
When we talk about ridding yourselves of negativity and things, I put a wee list of things here, and I just want to quickly read through them because there's actually quite a few good things in it. So be grateful for everything was one of the things I put in there. Laugh more often, especially at yourself, and help others is in there, Jim. But like you say, remember when you're helping others, don't get in the hole beside them, obviously.
Absolutely.
Changing how you think. And then these ones I thought were really good. Surrounding yourself with positive people. Approach problems with positive action and solutions. And this is one I really like, is take full responsibility and stop playing a victim.
Yeah.
Here's
a great graphic for people to see right now. And hopefully they're watching this. This is what most people let happen to them. Right there. You see that? The expectations of others were the bars.
Right, okay.
I used them for my own cage. That's what happens.
Yeah.
We allow the expectations of others to become the cage that we're locked in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every single time. You need to break out of that. You need to acknowledge the fact that that's what's happening to you and don't allow it to happen. You're the person in charge of you. No one else is in charge of you. Even though you think they are at this point in time, because they've convinced you that they are. They're not. Because let's be honest, you can walk away at any point in time you want. Oh, but I need a salary. It's like, do you really need a salary? Just go and work with someone else. At this point in time, you could. Anybody could. Even I could. But I can't leave me.
That's true.
I wouldn't really want I wouldn't want a job. It's like I'm quite brutal with people sometimes online when they go, I've started my own bit, I've bought a new business and it's going to be fantastic. And it's like, okay, you've no bought a business, you've bought a job.
Want to take over your life,
They're trying to make out as if because they've done that, it's going to be different for them and they're going to have all this freedom. And it's like, you're not going to have any freedom. You're going to be working more hours than you ever have before. If you meet a self-employed person and ask them how many hours they work a week in order to make the same income as they made when they were working a job, I'll bet you it's a hell of a lot more hours.
Probably about double.
Of course it is. It's well-known fact that the average self-employed salary is 20% less than the average employed salary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's because people love the idea about the fact that they can come and go if they want. But if you get the right people and you do the right job, then the world could be your oyster anyway, even if you're an employed job. Look what happened to me, Richard, when I was working at ESA Macintosh.
Yeah.
I taught my immediate director, my finance director, to build a property portfolio as well at the same time. So because of that, he allowed me to have some flexibility in what I was doing because I taught him to do that. Yeah. So he made a lot of money and he allowed me to make a lot of money at the same time. But we both got our jobs done as we were necessary. And all I did was trade my holidays for the time that I was using to do that. And he allowed me to do that as a natural result. So, if you've got the right people and the right team around about you, you can do anything and achieve anything. But don't let the negheads, the neggy people, bring you down. Just get just imagine like that wee shell, the neg shell you get round about you. So instead of an eggshell, it's a neg shell. Just put that neg shell round about you, your barrier, and stop that shite getting to you from other people. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. Stopping all that negative stuff and letting it have an effect on your things, it does take a lot to do with mindset and getting yourself in the right frame of mind and things as well. You mentioned, dear Jim, when we're talking about doing canvassing and door shops and things, about letting you get a bit of exercise in there. And exercise is one of the things that's part of your whole mental and your physical well-being, which needs to be in really good shape if you want to be successful and assist in doing positive changes. I mean, I know for you, Jim, and you could share a wee bit about that, but how exercise and getting you in a physical and mental state well, a lot better than what you were previously, helped you be successful and helped you make all these positive changes that have helped you along the way.
Exercise is key. Now, it doesn't need to be intense for anybody to start out. It just needs to be walking.
Yeah.
Don't put earphones in. For God's sake, do not put earphones in when you go out walking. Don't put music in your ears. That's the worst thing you could ever do, unless you're listening to a podcast. But
Yeah.
I would say listen to the podcast separately in your car or something like that, or at home when you're doing something else. Because when you get out and you smell the roses, believe it or not, if you hear music, you'll probably not smell the roses, by the way. That's weird.
You're using too much of one sense.
Yeah, because you're using that sense and you're tuning in on the music and you're immersed in there, so you actually don't smell the roses as well. So you want to be attuned to the nature and round about you, because this is our environment. This is how we grew up. We're not meant to have intense music in our ears when we're out in the country and we're out in, and basically, for want of a better phrase, feral. When we're a bit feral and we're out there doing something, and the opportunity to just bump into other people. And I'm not saying you talk to people. I'm just saying say hello on the way past.
Yeah.
See the amount of at the weekend when I was up at Blair Athol on the mountain bike. See the amount of sheep and cows that I spoke to on the way. And I was thinking, if they could only think, which they can probably, they'll be thinking, what the hell is he saying? And I saw one or two people as well, and I spoke to them as well, but I just kept myself. And that's the type of interaction you want. And then the sun was shining, and it was just glorious, and I had a fantastic time. And that releases the right endorphins, and it also gives you social connection as well, and overall connection, and it makes you feel a lot better. But key here, when you're out doing intense workouts, what happens is your muscles produce neurons. And the neurons are renewing parts of your brain.
Yeah.
Bet you didn't know that.
That's
it's like you can renew parts of your brain, and actually through exercise. It's a scientific fact. If you watched Diary of a CEO recently, and I can't remember who it was, but he was talking about it. Yeah, your muscles produce all these different things. Plus, your gut produces serotonin, which is like the fuel to keep you content and happy. And if you don't, and you get that every day, or if you don't have that and you don't produce that, then you're screwed. That's why you become completely depressed all the time. And you just don't want to live anymore because you're not producing enough serotonin to do that. And that's called lack of sleep and everything. So it also helps you sleep when you exercise.
Yeah.
So exercise is key and fundamental to everything and your whole well-being for your brain and your body.
Yeah, definitely. And just getting out there and embracing outdoors and just letting it have that calm and relaxing and kind of, like you say, a profound effect on not just your mind, but your actual physical body as well. And then it puts you in a better place, and it puts you in a better position to deal with change and embrace change and get rid of the negative things and just bypass them quite easily without them having an effect on you. So it all goes hand in hand. And exercise, obviously, and I know everybody's probably sick of hearing about exercise because it's quite a big thing, but it's so important for your own self and the entire journey that you set out on.
Well, we used to do exercise in the prehistoric days, and it was called hunting.
Yeah.
And gathering. That's what we used to do. We used to go out and gather food, and we used to hunt for food as well. Men went out and hunt for food because that was their natural instinct to do that, and be, and prey on, animals and that for eating. But the women used to go out and gather berries and look after and nurture families. As a result of that, look after that's the type of roles that were established in that time, and they're inherently built into us. Where you have get your pitchforks and everything. He's a misogynist, and it's it's nothing like that at all. It's hardwired into us. That's just human nature, hardwired into us from prehistoric times. You know nothing you can do. It's your amygdala sits in the middle of your brain. It's never grown, never developed, never evolved over the years, and it's still there. And it's a hard wiring that you have in the very beginning, and it's for survival. That's why it's hardwired into you and into the different species that we are as the roles that we have to take as a natural result of that. So yeah, exercise is key and fundamental, but you used to get it like that, but now you have to make an effort to get it because we're stuck in front of computers all the time.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so that is so important. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and we talk about people being negative towards you and not being that great. But you also need to, on the flip side, be that person who's kind and helpful to others as well. Do you know, it's the kind of practice what you preach thing. You can't go on about other people being negative or bringing other people down if you're not exercising that same ability to lift people up and be kind to others and have that really empathetic approach to life in general and the other people around you and people that you come in contact with.
Empathy is something that you've got to work on for a lot of people, because empathy means that you've never experienced it yourself, but you're empathetic towards the person that's going through that tough time at that point in time. Sympathetic is obviously you've gone through it yourself, and you understand exactly how they're feeling at that point in time. So it's probably most people that get older are able to sympathize with people because they've gone through a lot of stuff, especially grieving, for example. Over the years because of their personal experience. But most young people will probably need to learn how to empathize. And empathizing with someone else is a good quality trait, which will stand you in good stead for later on in life and where you are right now. It's because people naturally, it's skill. It's how win friends and influence people, isn't it? But you're not necessarily doing it for that. It also helps you with your overall well-being and how you feel about yourself. You feel like you're a person that contributes towards society rather than actually a person that takes away from society.
Yeah. And you know, it could be the simplest of things on a daily basis, or just when you meet people to do the simplest things for some like selfless deeds for others that would have a positive effect on them. And obviously it will kind of in general make you feel a bit better about yourself as a person, which is really important. Because then you can start to drag yourself down if you don't feel like that.
Yeah. Okay, there's a classic example here. Giving to others is quite selfish.
Because you're always looking for that.
Yeah. Well, no, giving to others is quite a selfish motive if it's for that intent, because to make you feel better.
Yeah.
But it's just a natural result because you give to others, because that's the type of person you are, that you're going to get that feeling anyway, regardless. So it can be viewed as quite selfish, and some people will actually view it like that, but that's the people that are probably selfish in the first place anyway.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's like when somebody tells me something like that, or tells me something, some statement like that, I'm then quite puzzled because it's like, that's not why I did it. And they're trying to convince me I've done something for being my own selfish nature. It's like that canvassing thing. The boy said on LinkedIn, he said that you're doing it obviously for an ulterior motive to get their business. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. I've got no, if they want to come with me, they want to come with me. If they don't want to come with me. But I'm certainly not going to stop promoting myself just because you think it's quite selfish. Hello? The biggest drinks company in the world, Coca-Cola, promotes itself all the time. Is that selfish then? It's just because, and it was an individual dig at me, so it was negative, and it was an individual dig at me as well. And I thought, well, you're obviously in a shitty frame of mind at the fact that you're having to take it out on me, but I'm not going to take it. There you go. That's the end of us. Blocked.
Yeah.
And I could quite happily switch that off because I don't need people like that in my life. You know, they're only going to I don't even know the person, to be honest. They're connected with me on LinkedIn because they wanted to be connected with me. They were an acclaimed or trainer for estate agents who I have no idea who the person is, but there was other people I knew on there. So I thought, yeah, I'll give him a helping hand. He might get something out of what I'm doing. He might learn something. I might learn something for him, but so far I've learned nothing from him over the last 2 or 3 years. So I didn't see the point of keeping connecting with him if that's the type of person he's going to be. I don't want these. I don't align with these people. I don't get that. I don't understand these type of people.
Yeah. No, you're quite right. And you need to have, like you said, the people's beliefs and things do need to align with what you believe in and where your life and journey is taking you. And if they don't, or they're going to hold you back in any way, you're going to have to maybe part ways. And then that would bring me to talk about, obviously, support networks and things, and whether that's friends or family or peers or mentors and things as well are all important things if it's the right people.
This is a great point. My upline used to say to me, my mentors used to say to me, Jim, do you think you could find 5 people it could actually want to work with you and be absolutely brilliant and be on your page with you.
Yeah.
And he says, well, do you think you could find 6 people then? So that's why A, B, C, D, E, F came in. There's the 6 people. And then what they said to the next person of these 6 people, do you think you could find 6 people in this world out of 8 billion people? and think about that. Think about the logic of that. So we come back to saying, do you think you could find 5 or 6 people that might be on the same page as you? It might want to win with you as well. And do you think they would be able to find 5 or 6 people that might want to win? And that's how tribes and networks are born. That's how a following is born. I'm not talking about a cult here, by the way.
We're not talking about
that's how you get the Apple enthusiasts. That's how you get the Microsoft enthusiasts. That's how you get the Tesla enthusiasts, because that's how it all starts. It starts with 5 or 6 people that maybe thinks this guy knows what he's talking about, goes and tells everybody else, and then 5 people from them go, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about because he said it as well. And it's like the next 5 and this guy, and the next minute there's millions of people following them.
Yeah. And it filters through and has a knock-on effect.
You only need to find 5 and convince them that you're the person to work with. That's it.
Yeah, and that's all about building the right networks and things as well. I did mention there, obviously, whether it is family, peers, and things as well, but also friends. But then we talk about choosing the right friends or having the right friends around you, and not just so and so down the pub. That, do you know what I mean? That could be quite a negative and withholding. And hold you back, rather than uplift you and help you excel.
There's a natural thing to gravitate towards the path of least resistance in human nature. And what I mean by that is, if you've got to do a bit of hard work because you're self-employed or you're running your own business or you're doing investment strategies and that, you need to do it that night, and then all of a sudden somebody phones you up and says you want to come down the pub. It's like, ooh, really? Pub? Yeah, see that? And but that's what happens. You're in charge of you, and that's what sometimes the issue is here. So some people you might just have to leave behind. I mean, it's not the fact that you don't like them; it's the fact that they're eating into your time. You've only got 24 hours in the day. So where are you going to spend your time? Mo Garrett talks about it on Diary of a CEO. He was talking about it this morning when I was listening to it. He was talking about, I have to tell people just like, no, sorry. He says he's got a pal Sunday morning. It used to take all his time up on a Sunday morning, used to go for a coffee. But all his pal would talk about was him and his problems. And Mo thought, this isn't productive at all. I just feel shit every time I come away from this. He says, so I'm spending time with you to feel crap on a Sunday morning for the rest of the day, more or less. And eventually confronted him with it and said that, and says, look, if you're going to do this again, we can't do this anymore. We'll be friends, but we just can't do this anymore. Because I need that time to be, lifted or productive or whatever it is. And the boy went, yeah. The next week he did exactly the same thing. So he says, we're done. That's it. No offense, nothing like that. Just the fact that we're done. You have to take these decisions with some roots and just say we're done. That's it. You can't do any more.
Yeah, no, and that's a change in itself, and it's not always easy to do that. But
nobody likes to be disliked. Nobody likes conflict, do they?
Yeah.
Nobody likes conflict, really, and they avoid conflict at all costs. But they'd rather suffer. They'd rather suffer than change, because change, because the endorphins you get on the fear of missing out. If you lost £10, right, the feeling you would get would be greater, far greater than finding £10. So if you found £20, you'd still be not as good feeling as you got the endorphins and everything as you got when you lost £10. So you need to find £30 just to get the same sort of feeling, just the chemicals going around your body as you've lost £10. So this means that people would rather stay and suffer where they are right now because they can't see the 3 times more benefit of actually changing to something new.
Mhm.
That's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely is.
So these are the sort of that's the sort of, so the energy of loss is greater, far greater than the energy of the benefit of doing it. But the emotion is the same. It's just interpreted differently.
Yeah.
And that's why the emotional response for the finding needs to be greater, or the changing needs to be far greater. This is what building the dream is all about. This is what having goals, because it'll push you or pull you to these goals as a natural result, and that will give you the energy to move forward and not stay put where you are. As soon as my kids were born, it was like, oh my God, I've got to. They can never, and I don't mean not want for anything. They can never be in a position where they need to suffer as a result of my negligence and not building something for them for the future. In other words, if they want to go to university, I have to make sure I've got the money. If they need to go to, and I mean, no want, need. If they need to go to university, I need to have the money. If they need medical attention straight away, I need to have the money. If any of my extended family, my family members or my brothers and sisters need money, I have to make sure I've got the money to be able to do that. If I need attention, I need to make sure I've got money. If I lose my ability to perform, I need to make sure I've got money coming in and I've got the
Mhm.
wealth to generate that.
Yeah.
If anything like that happens, that's where my goals were, and that's how my mindset worked. But that's as a result of understanding where we are right now, and also the bigger picture in society, and the fact that you've got no control over anything outside of your circumstances. So you
Mhm.
better get your finger out and sort it out for you right now about where
Yeah.
you are, because you can control you and your ability to perform and actually make more money and develop more wealth.
Yeah. No, that's quite a lot of good points there, and it just shows, Jim, like you say, obviously, the catalyst for you at some point was when you had kids, and how your whole mindset changed about what you needed to do and what you needed to have in place, and how you were going to get there, and obviously achieve that.
Richard, I genuinely just imagined, and I've talked about this before, about me being a shitty father and actually, not being able to afford to help them with anything.
Hmm.
And it's like, Mom, I brought them into this world with Elaine, and it's like, and then I'm just going to let them fend for themselves? Really?
Yeah, I know.
Is that a father?
That's a lot of people. A lot of people. That's their mindset. That's how they
Yeah,
think.
I had you, but I didn't need to do anything else for you. Kick you out the door, and that's the end of it. It's
Yeah.
like we're not in the animal kingdom. I know we are animals at nature, and that's the way animals work. But that's not how our society should work, and that's how you've got all these problems in the world. More than
Yeah.
likely, that's why you've got people in the street homeless, because it's like parents don't feel any obligation for these people,
Totally. Yeah.
or they give up on them. So I've never wanted to be in that position. I didn't want to be the person that says, "Come and look at my trophies," because I spent all my time doing the pub playing pool or darts. That's
Yeah.
the person I didn't want to be. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be the nearly man. Oh, I nearly did this, and I nearly did that. I was nearly the best at that. Well, nearly's not good enough. You never did it, did you?
No.
That's the person I never wanted to be.
Yeah, and I think that really all ties in with creating or being part of the right networks and having the right support and things as well. And whether that's through family or professionally, and or a mixture of both, then it's really important.
Yeah, my mother and father sat me down, when I left the house and I was homeless and unemployed that night, and basically says, "I think you're making a big mistake, and you have to be careful, remember," and all the rest of it. And then even when I was buying all the houses, when I was buying all the property and investments, and I knew exactly I was making 25% return on investment and more, and return on capital on more at that time, I still had my mum saying, "Oh, but be careful." When I, it's like I'm making more in this than I am in my job, and I'm spending less than one and a half days a day a week,
Yeah,
and you're telling me to be careful, really? But you see how that creeps in,
yeah,
and you
and
see
how
how that could be easily interpreted because you trust your parents.
and that
They,
cautiousness and things could
yeah,
rub off and hold you
I
back.
just basically said, well, but you've not really got any knowledge of this. I know what I'm doing, so just let me get on with it. That's fine.
Yeah,
I appreciate your concern, and that was it. That's all I said.
Yeah. But it just shows you how easily something like that could have held you back.
Of course.
Yeah.
Imagine staying in that house and having that every day.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to take yourself out of that environment.
And listen to the right people and have the right people around you.
It's listen to the right people. It's listen to the right mentors, the right upline, the right functions, the right business plans, the right podcasts, the right books. I think books are immense. Reading the right books is probably the best thing. It improves your diction, your grammar, it improves your vocabulary as well, and it also improves your mindset and trains you and basically it prepares you for the opportunity, because the point of readiness is where opportunity and preparation meets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. What about also as part of obviously changes and small changes and taking these things for a positive impact on yourself? What about eliminating all the non-essential stuff? We've done a whole show on like cutting back and really assessing yourself and what you do and everything around you and everything you put in and do put out, and really bringing that down, not just to the bare minimum, and we're not telling people to live this kind of no frills life, but there's a lot of stuff that people put out there and spend a lot of time doing and spend money on, which is not necessary and not essential. And you really need to get that to a good point where you are obviously making these changes for the positive impact on yourself and how it's going to positively impact your journey, your road to success. Because there's just so much stuff we have and on a daily basis that we don't need to be doing or don't need to be spending money on.
Consumerism. You're a consumer. Do you really need that car?
Yeah.
That's the two things I used to ask myself all the time. Do I really need that car? Is it a want or is it a need? Can I get, is it just to get to A to B? Can I get a cheaper car? It would just work just as good to get from A to B. It's big expense. Do I really need that big house? I went from a 3-bedroom semi-detached bungalow overlooking the whole of the area up on the hill to basically a 2-bedroom flat in one of the most challenged areas in Methil.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew what I was doing, and I knew I would be able to invest a lot more money into my ventures and my property and my investment, and I knew that would pay dividends over the years as a result of that. So there was no doubt about it. I knew I was doing the right thing. And the great thing was, observe the masses and do the opposite.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good piece of advice, because everybody just wants to follow suit and do what everybody else is doing or be like everyone else. And I think it's so important to be yourself and do your own thing. And if you think something's going to work differently, but everybody else thinks not, and you can't logically or really take an educated look at it and say that it's not going to work, then you should just go with it and trust your own instincts. As long as you've obviously sought the right educational tools to help you get to there.
It's having the right people on your side, I think.
Yeah.
But it's also just double checking. I mean, there's no surprise that I double check with solicitors or double check with accountants as well, just to see what their thought is, even though I'm an accountant as well, just to see what their thoughts are, see if they've got any further thoughts on it. And people in professional areas, banks as well. I just recently consulted the Bank of Scotland again, Adam at the bank, just to double check about something else I was wanting to do, just in case the opportunity appeared. And he said, yeah, that should be easily just to be able to do that. So I know I now can jump on that if I want to for commercial real estate, and the bank will just back me to do it. So I know it's all in place. It's easy enough done. And that was just a simple email over the weekend. So see how everybody else is partying and sleeping, and I'm just doing business at the same time. But it's a natural thing to do. It's just part of what you do and part of who you are. Instead of sitting watching the telly and the latest soap, it's like I'll spend that time on being productive and building for the future. Imagine how much time you could recover for doing your side hustle if you stopped doing things like that, like watching the latest soap.
Yeah.
I have no idea what EastEnders is all about now.
I haven't watched EastEnders or Coronation Street.
But some people love it, and fine. That's what
and that's fine, and that's people's things. Yeah, but soaps are not one of my things either. But yeah, I think even though we go through all these things today, I think the most important thing is to remember that you actually need to take action and really take those baby steps and break things down, and really break the big picture goals down into really systematic and manageable steps, and that is the most important thing. And I think that was the topic that brought me to what we were talking about today anyway. And just to finish us off, I've done some tips on, and I put them down here, and I was going to run through them at the end. And it's tips to turn big steps into baby steps. And the first one was to slow it down. To slow it down instead of trying to rush to the finish line, and remember that good things take time. Everything takes time, and it's not a race. Chunk it down and take your goals and chunk it down into realistic, smaller steps. That's going to be achievable for you with your current abilities and lifestyle and things as well. Also remember that progress is never linear. There's always going to be ups and downs and twists and turns, and that's just normal. It doesn't mean that you have to stop and feel like you've failed. Just refocus and then review things and keep going. And that allows yourself to practice the patience that's really required for you to be successful. And also, Jim, and like you've obviously done that, and you demonstrated it at the start, is to keep note of all your wins and your achievements and how things have changed along the way, so you can actually look at how you've progressed. And when you look at your wins, even if it's the smallest wins, always acknowledge them and look at them as progress and further achievement for yourself. And the final one was really, if you need help, get help, and never be afraid to ask for help, and enlist the right mentors or consultants or even a coach or whatever to help you along your way. Just remember, the advice that you get, you're getting it from the right people.
Absolutely. I think that's the key to everything.
Yeah.
It's just do that. You've got to start and do something. If you don't start and do something, you'll do nothing. So it's all very well learning all this stuff, reading all these books, listening to everything, spouting it off and saying how great you are about what you're doing and what you're saying, and you sound all right. But the reality is, if you're no good at there and doing it, then it's no worth anything to you anyway. You'll still be broke in 50 years' time, in 40 years' time, in 30 years' time, whatever point in time, this time next year, the year after, the year after, the year after, if you do nothing else than you're doing right now, you will still be where you are.
Yeah.
You will never have changed. It's like when you walk into your local pub after 10 years and you think to yourself, Christ almighty, it's just the people are the same people, but they've just got 10 years older. And they're doing they're talking about exactly the same thing. Can't believe it.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And if that's what they want to do, good on them. Fantastic. As somebody used to say to me all the time, is someone's got to wash your car.
Yeah.
And so we'll all kind of be the leaders. That's why you've got the 5%. That's why there's a 5% group. And you, by your actions, are the one that chooses to be in that 5% group by what you do and what you achieve. Nobody else decides whether you're in that group or not. It's you that decide. And as a result, somebody else obviously gets pushed out of that 5% group because they're not doing as much as what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then they're in the 95%. That's the nature of the capitalistic system at work, and that's just how it is.
I was just going to say, that's how, nothing's going to change that.
That's how it is. You can piss and moan about it all the time, but the reality is, that's life, as Frank Sinatra used to say.
Yeah. Well, do you know, that's a good place to leave that today, Jim. And thanks for sharing all your insights on your own journey at the beginning and how things changed and how even you changed in that 2-year period just by implementing the same things. So, thanks for that. And thanks to everybody for joining in and contributing. We will be on the reruns, and you'll always catch us on our YouTube channel. And we'll be back next week at 12:30 as usual. So until then, you can all join us on the Wealth Creation Show Monday at 12:30. And I'll leave it there.